Introducing her.
Oh, yeah, boy, you real confused.
Yeah.
You are still not on that program, right?
No.
You are.
Who not on the program? Me?
Assalamu alaikum. Ramadan Mubarak. I am privileged to be able to introduce our next speaker because I not only know her personally, I've known her since she was a child, and she's really been almost like she was my child. But when you think about our next speaker, she is truly an educator. She wanted to be a scientist, but Allah already had destined her to be able to teach because it was in her. You know, she has many degrees. You know, I think it's kind of a family tradition to get more than one. But, you know, when you're in an atmosphere, you know, where you have people in your family doing a thing, you tend to pattern after family members. But she is a person who's really deep in thought, reflection, and she loves family. She loves people. And we all love her. She has recently attended the Leadership Institute and obtained those wonderful skills, and she loves its dean like no other. She is compassionate with all of her brothers and sisters, and I am so honored to have at one time taught her myself. I want to introduce you to none other than Miss Kimberly Speight.
Well, I didn't know who you were talking about. Assalamualaikum. Ramadan Mubarak. It's always exciting when your former teachers get a chance to say something about you, and then you get to find out what they really think. And you just pray that it's not terrible. So we're going to get started today. Inshallah, everything that I say is in alignment with our Creator, and I pray that my message comes across properly. Our topic for the Sisters Ramadan session is read what Allah has written, seeking progress through love. And I understand that this topic is directly aligned to our topic for Muslims in Memphis this year. So it's kind of exciting that it would be such, and to see how we can all play off of this particular thing. So I will be like Shaitan Rajim, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allah is so merciful, and I'm so grateful that this past Juma, I was not physically here, but I was listening in on Facebook, thank Allah for technology. We listened to the Juma, and I heard the Khatib addressing the thing. And so as I was listening to the things that he was saying about the thing, I was saying, oh, seeking progress through love, light, opportunity, vision, and eradicating crime. I was moved because most of the things that he was saying, I was like, that's setting the foundation for everything that I'm talking about. We don't even need to have Sister Ramadan session. We could just play Juma and for my session, and then I say, yeah, I stamped that. That's excellent. So, but if you did hear the Juma, you're primed and you're ready for our presentation for today. And you'll hear some of the things in our beginning part that kind of connect to what was taught on Friday. So in talking about seeking progress through love, one of the things that I heard in Juma was the statement, the greatest human right is the right to be human. And that was very significant because we're talking about eradicating crime in the month of the theme for the month, and that is something that would highlight itself as a human right, a right to live in peace, a right to be able to move around the world without being concerned for your safety. So when looking at what human means, I looked up the word of human, and it comes from the Latin root word homo, meaning man or human being. And it goes on to humanus, the old French word humane, so you've heard of being humane, and then you get Middle English the same and go into human. But human was first recorded in the mid-century, the mid-13th century, and owes its existence to the French humane, of or belonging to man. And in turn then comes from the humanus, the Latin. But it is thought to be a hybrid relative of the word homo, meaning man, and humus, meaning earth. And that's very significant, and I hear the because what is mankind made from? The earth, clay, right? In Quran Surah 71, Ayah 17, it says, and Allah has caused you to grow from the earth a progressive growth like a plant. And that's significant because when we talk about the growth of a plant, what do we know about a plant? It grows down, firmly affixed, and then it grows up and out where you can see it, and then it produces its fruits, right? But it first has to anchor itself. So when you talk about mankind, and you talk about man, and coming from the earth, if you were liken man to a plant, you're thinking about those same characteristics. Being firmly planted and grounded, there's a ground again. Then growing up, and when you talk about growing up, we think of spirituality, but we also think of growing up towards the heavens, being more aligned to your Creator, and then after that, bearing fruits. And it does not happen in an opposite way. You don't bear fruits before you firmly plant yourself, ground yourself, and then grow up in spirituality. And so it's very significant that not only do we see that in the Quran, but even the language of the choice of the word that we use today to describe the human being. So when we're talking about the human, and we're talking about progressing, what is the true human nature? And if you study philosophy over time, you will find that human nature has been debated and thought about for centuries. This is not a new concept. It wasn't a concept that came along with just Al-Islam. But the concept of what is the nature of man has always been a discussion piece, right? So if you know anything about Greek and Roman philosophies, Chinese philosophies, it all has a thought process around what is the true nature of mankind, of man. So Plato and Aristotle, they were kind of similar in their thoughts. They said that the human soul has a nature that is divided specifically for humans. One part is rational, and it is divided into just that portion. And then another part has a spiritual component. And the second half of the human holds the desires or passions similar to those found in animals. So the desire to eat, the desire to sleep, the desire to mate, all of those things. They both distinguish very separately the spirited part of the human nature and the passionate part of the human nature. So they, at that point, were saying there is something different between the basic characteristics of maintaining the physical body and also having a spiritual component. They said, but the proper function of the rational component of the human is to rule the other parts of the soul, helped by the spirit. And by this account, the best way to live is to be a philosopher, a person of thought, and that's the highest level of human. That's Aristotle and Plato. Very interesting. Then Aristotle goes a little bit further, leaves Plato behind and says, hey, what makes us different from these animals, yeah, we got this spirit, but it's the ability for us to reason and use our language in our soul and our psyche. And that means that the work of the human is actually actualization of our soul in accordance to reason. So he's identifying having a soul and being a reasonable human being. So got some progression there, right? So based upon this, his followers came up with their own ideas. And we've heard about after people are gone, how they come up with something a little different, or even take it a little further and say this is from Aristotle. But his followers said, okay, hey, that means there's a rational animal. That's what we're going to call this. We're going to call the human the rational animal. That makes it different from just being an animal. It's a rational animal. And as a rational animal, it's going to have a conjugal animal component. That means that, you know, when you become an adult, you're going to want to couple, marry, mate. That's one component. And then you're going to run a household, and it's going to be run by the patriarchal component of you, the males in the family. Then you're going to attach to villages and cities, which are a little more self-sufficient, and then you're going to become a political animal. And a political animal has more complex communities, more like instead of a male-dominated household, now you have several households working together in a city. And then you're going to have lawmaking and division of labor. What does it sound like it's happening now? So then from this, you're going to have reason to be able to run this, and it shouldn't just be run by a patriarch like a village. You need the whole family. This is Aristotle. So man then also becomes a mimetic animal. That's the next part, where they love to use their imagination and recreate what they see in nature and use it in their everyday life. How does that connect with what we're taught about Islam so far? Does anybody have an idea of, what you want to holler out? Something that they hear? Do you hear anything that's relevant to community life in Islam?
To building it up to where we're self-sufficient.
Okay, because it does say having, that we got to the point of cities and having community life. What else did we have?
Sure.
We had shura because it wasn't just run by the male of the household. You had several working together, and they made what to keep order? Laws. And it said in order to have these laws, you had to have reason.
Right.
And then it said, okay, we don't just have laws and family. We also have this last component they said, which you use your imagination. That's an even higher level of use of your intellect to recreate what's in nature. And we've already been taught that Allah has put messages and signs in nature for us to read and use for our own development. So that was Aristotle. Left Plato behind. Plato didn't get that far. So now Aristotle then also says about human nature, it says, reason is not only what's special about humanity compared to others, but it's also what we're meant to achieve to be our best. So we have to have reasoning to be the best human. And then he describes human nature as we're meant to be and we're intended to be this rational human being. What's interesting is when I read that, it said the portion of this thought process is where we're saying humans are meant or intended to be something is less popular today in modern times. So our thing talks about progression, but this concept says Aristotle, who's way before Quran, this Quran, not the message of Allah, but this Quran. He's way before this, and he's saying that human beings are designed to be rational. In order to really be the best level of human being, then you have to have that component. You have to have a purpose and achieve it. You're looking for self-actualization. But it also stated in the research that that concept is not popular today, that humans are meant to achieve, that humans are meant to self-actualize. So my question to you is just to think about, why do you think that is? Why do you think that today the idea of humans being intellectual, rational, and having a purpose to self-actualize is not something that is promoted today? Going back to the thing where we're talking about seeking progress, we're talking about moving forward, but to me that sounds like society is doing what? Moving backwards. Okay. So Aristotle says there are 4 aspects there. All in living things exhibit matter. They exhibit a form. They have some effect on their surroundings. And there's an end, there's an actualization end. There's a goal here. And so just talking about a basic living thing, an oak tree is made up of plant cells, right? You see the leaves, the stalk, all of that. That's its matter. It forms into a tall tree that has all those components. That's its form. That's what it looks like. Its effect is that it starts as an acorn and it's going to grow into this tree. That's how it functions on the environment. And then its end is it becomes a mature tree that then provides resources to the environment. It has a self-actualization. It doesn't not get to that point unless something is damaging to it. In its natural state, it will continue to grow stage by stage until it gets to the point where it is a resource for the environment. It's going to provide shelter for some organisms. It's going to provide us shade. It might provide us food. It could provide us, we could chop it down and have furniture, paper. So it becomes a resource for us, right? According to Aristotle, the human nature is our form, not the physical form. The nature of the human is our form. Is to become fully actualized. In order to become fully actualized as a human being, you have to fully actualize the mind. Isn't that something? Mm-hmm. So he says that the most significant part of the human psyche should be cultivated above all else. The cultivation of learning and intellectual growth of a philosopher is therefore the happiest and least painful life. So how can the lack of learning and intellectual growth be painful? Chaos. Yeah. I thought it was very significant that the theme for the month was so specific. Seeking progress through love, light, opportunity, vision, which are all concepts, but then the last one was eradicating crime. And when I saw the last part, I was like, man, we must really be in a situation where we have all these broad concepts that we want to align ourselves to, but we're ending it with eradicating crime. Like, what is going on when your thing is broad and then the narrow part is we got to fight something that is, and not just bring down crime or influence crime, eradicate it. So when we talk about how the lack of learning and intellectual growth can be painful, I think that we're seeing that in its effect on a very strong end, because we're talking about eradicating crime, which is very, very, that was jarring for me to hear. So now I want you to listen to this second component. We talked about Greek and Roman philosophers, Aristotle and Plato, but the Chinese view of human nature is also very interesting. So Confucianism says that there's potential and innate goodness in human beings. So they just believe in the goodness. Mencius says human nature is the tendency to an ideal state that is expected to be formed under the right conditions. So basically, the natural progression is that if you do it right, you're going to reach self-actualization. So you have the capacity to be good. You're not all good, but goodness is the result of work. And that work is trying to get the virtues of benevolence, righteousness, wisdom, and propriety. If you put you in the right environment, you will become these things. That's what that particular philosopher says. And if you reflect on that often enough, then you will develop virtues. So there's work involved here. Virtues takes precedence over satisfaction. So then human nature will want to be more virtuous. We will want to be more virtuous than to just tend to our own individual immediate needs. That's the nature of a human, according to this philosopher. And if you become bad, if your nature is bad, it's not because of your constitution to be bad. Rather, it's because you have been put in situations and emotional trauma that injured your progression. So something got in the way of you developing into and being able to do the work of being a good human being. So we're going to start to take a turn. Sun Tzu says, this particular philosopher understands human nature as the basic faculties, capacities, and desires that people have from birth. Whatever it is you're born with, that's it. Okay, it doesn't matter what you do, this is your nature. Okay, you cannot fight nature. And he says that human nature is evil and that any goodness is the result of human activity. And it is human nature to seek profit because humans desire for sensory satisfaction, and that the nature of man is evil and it must depend on teachers and laws to become correct and achieve propriety and righteousness, and then only then does it become discipline. What does that align with? So you're born then in a state of evil. You are inherently bad, and you have to be beat into some type of confirmation to become good. I have to teach you how to be good, because if I allow you to depend on your own nature, you will not be. So I want you to think about, if you have that philosophy about a human being, what it is that your expectations are for human beings. They're inherently evil. So you don't expect anything but that from a person. And so because that's your expectation, then you're going to build things to either support that for your own benefit, take advantage of that, or you're going to have to be so rigid because you believe that the only way to make a person good is to have strict laws and a teacher that is firm, and I'm going to force you into good behavior. And what does that sound like? Slavery. It's a great philosophy to underline slavery. So here's the last one. And you may have heard this before and did not know it was a philosophy. Legalism. Legalism is a Chinese philosophy. And legalism says selfishness in human nature cannot be eliminated or altered by education or self-cultivation. I can beat you, I can teach you, you are still going to be selfish and evil. People cannot overcome their selfishness. It's exceptionally rare that people can be driven by moral commitment. Legalists do not see individual morality of the rulers or the rules. as an important concern in the political system. Listen, we're not concerned about the leaders' morality or the people of the township's morality when it comes to the legal system. That's not what's important, whether you're moral or not, whether you're good or not, whether or not you do the right thing or not. That is not important. Instead, what is important are clear and impersonal norms such as laws, regulations, and rules on the basis to maintain order. I know you're going to be evil and bad. I know you're going to take advantage. I just need some things. We're going to agree that these are the things that you can go as far as you want to, but just don't cross this line. And not as you want, because you're incapable of not doing it. So if you do it, I know that you're going to do it. It's okay, because that's your nature. But once you get to this point here, there are going to be consequences. People are all motivated by their unchanging selfish core to want whatever advantage they can gain from whoever they can gain such advantage, which especially comes to expression in situations where people can act with impunity. Who does that sound like? But this is a philosophy. I want you to understand it. This is a philosophy, and there are people that subscribe to this. I can do whatever I want to as long as I don't cross this line. And if I cross this line, it's really okay. I just have to deal with the consequences of what was put in place for that line. If I'm willing to deal with the consequences, it's still okay. So if it's a fine of $10 million if I do this, okay. It's not, but I'm not a bad person. Not any different than all the rest of us. I'm a human nature. It's okay. So what happens to society when we're perceived to be naturally evil? Normalized evil. I saw a hand back there.
I said it becomes evil.
It becomes evil. The society then will reflect what the expectations are. As parents, I think I'm looking around, I think most of us are parents, aunties, something with some kids. If you raise the expectations, they will rise to the occasion. If you have no expectations, they will do whatever they want to do because you haven't said anything. So if the environment's expectation is that you can do whatever and you will do it without any type of ramifications, then why not? And you hear people say, they speak with no remorse.
Yes.
You killed this many people.
Yes.
Why?
Okay.
They got in my way. I mean,
Driving too slow.
is there anything wrong with that? I solved the problem. The problem was they were in my way. I removed the problem. Why don't you understand? Legalists believe that human selfishness can be an asset rather than a threat to a state. In legalism, the government cannot be staffed by upright and trustworthy men of service because every member of the elite, like any member of society, will pursue their own interests and thus must be employed for their interests. I didn't hire you because you would do the right thing. I hired you because I know what you want, and you can give me what I want, and I can give you what you want. So I'm going to, I understand your interests, and your interests benefit my interests, so that's why you're here at the table. Does that sound familiar?
Yes.
Okay. Herein, individuals must be allowed to pursue their selfish interests exclusively in a manner that benefits rather than contradicts the needs of a state. Therefore, a political system that presupposes this human selfishness is the only viable system. In contrast, a political system based on trust and respect rather than these impersonal norms and standards brings great concern in regard to an ongoing and irresolvable power struggle. See, if everybody's getting what they want, nobody's trying to remove anyone. Everybody's happy. I can get what I want, you can get what you want. I know what you want, you know what I want. Let's make this happen. Now, the fact that you are over there killing people and abusing children, we're going to just, can you just not do that right here while we're handling business? Because we're gonna excuse this other stuff because nobody's good, and we know that you have a human disposition to be a pedophile. So we're gonna just overlook that. What I need is for you to be able to provide this for me, and I'm gonna provide this for you. That's what's important here. The other stuff is not. That's why you can see the corruption and wonder, is this the leader of the? Can this person? Absolutely. This person is great for the position, according to legalism. So rather, checks and controls must be put in place to limit the subversion of the system by its actors. So we got to keep actors. We got to keep all this going. We can't have you in here talking about what's good and great and holy and right, because now you're about to mess up the system. It's working for everybody. So we use reward and punishment as effective political control. And it's in human nature to have likes and dislikes. So once I know what your likes and dislikes are, I can do reward and punishment. I know what you like, so I'm going to give you that when you do what I need you to do. I know what you don't like, so I'm going to give you that when you don't do what I need you to do. Okay? So, according to this particular statesman, Shane Yang, it is crucial to investigate the disposition of people in terms of rewards and penalties when a law is established. I'm going to learn the people, and I'm going to find out what is important to them. And then I'm going to establish laws that will reward and punish you based upon what you like and don't like. And then I can get what I want, and you can get what you want. That is a Chinese philosophy. Did you know that you are living in a non-Chinese place that is owned by China? And you are following their thoughts of system. And what kind of system do we have? Legal system. From what? Legalism. There you go. Human nature. So now we've talked about all these different concepts of what people view as human nature. But what's most important is what Allah says about human nature. And so we're going to speak about the human nature, the excellent human nature of Adam. Surah 32, Ayah 9. It says, then he proportioned him and breathed into him from his spirit, and he made for you the hearing and the vision, and the affidata, hearts, minds, and soul. Little thanks do ye give. Allah is speaking here on the special nature of the human being. He's speaking about all mankind, male and female, and how mankind has the spirit from Allah himself. He explains that Allah gave it to all living things, but gave the human being additional help so that he would be able to grow beyond the fixed boundaries limiting the non-human entities. Allah gave humanity free minds, free intellect, free thoughts, and free will. So there we start talking about that higher level of rationalism and the ability to think and use intellect and imagination to connect ourselves to creation. So because of that, the human creation is not in conflict with the other creation. but rather intended to be a complement with creation, a continuation of creation, a completion to creation. The human mind, the intellect expresses itself in creation, but beyond the limits of the non-human creation that God made. So we're all part of Allah's creation, but we have something above the rest of the creation. We know that because when he spoke about creating Adam with the angels and the jinn, he explained then that he gave us more and asked them or directed everyone to bow down to this new creation. So man is an emotional, moral, spiritual entity and identified in the abstract and the concrete rather not the concrete. So we're not talking about the physical body being the man. We look just like a primate. Our physical body is not that much different from a primate. What makes us different is the abstract component of us, right? The intellect and the spirit, not the physical form. And so, you know, some cultures, some faiths get that confused because they're talking about being made in the form of God. They're talking about a physical form. But we're talking about having the spirit of Allah that he breathed into us. He gave us part of his spirit. That is the form in which we are looking at. So the human being is a special creation from Allah that he gave to his spirit and free will and choice and advanced thinking abilities. This sets the human being apart from the other entities in creation. In fact, it highlights the human being as fitra-based spiritual being, not a physical being. Thus, the implication is to focus on the spiritual development and not the physical component of the human being. So when we're talking about progress, it would be most important for us to look at the spiritual development. So in Quran Surah 2, ayats 30 through 39, we're talking about where Allah is talking to the angels and presenting Adam. And recall when your Lord said to the angels, I am to place a Khalifa on earth. They said, will you place therein one who will do corruption in it and shed blood while we chant your praises and sanctify your name? And he said, verily, I know what you do not know. What you do know not. Excuse me. And he taught Adam the names. Now we're talking about the names, the book, the chair. We're talking about the nature of something, the nature behind it, of things. When he had told them their names and said, did I not tell you that I'm aware of the unknown and the heavens and the earth, and I'm aware of what you reveal and what you conceal? And when we said to the angels, prostrate yourself before Adam, they fell prostrate, except Iblis. He refused, waxed pride, and became of the infidels. Surah 16, ayah 14. It is he who has made the sea subject, that you may eat therein of flesh that is fresh and tender, and that you may extract therefrom ornaments to wear, and thou seest the ships therein that plow the waves, and ye may seek thus of the bounty of Allah, that ye may be grateful. So he made creation subject to Adam, to mankind. So even creation is recognizing the superiority of the intellectual part of the mankind. But in the sense that it is there for you to use. It is there for you to use with your intellect to be able to do more, to build more, to do our level of creation in the society. Surah 62, ayah 27. Who is it that responds to the call of the constrained when he calls him and removes the evil and makes you successors of the earth? Another characteristic of the human nature, being successors of the earth. It is he who made you succeed each other on earth, one after another, developing from stage to stage. Allah tells us that all human beings have the potential to be Khalifa or successor. He shares that God entrusted to the Khalifa together, not separately, so not one person, the humankind, as collective rule, and in that case, we can be the rule in creation. The children of Adam are the whole of mankind. Adam is not one person, but a collective mindset. Because remember, Adam is not the physical, Adam is the spiritual, the mind's collective mindset. Imam Worthy Muhammad identifies Adam as the representative of the awakening of the mind for the purpose for which man is created. It is a consciousness, a transformational force representing the human nature. It's also a beginning of life or the history of human life when man awakens to his natural excellence or his inherent worth as a creation among many things that God has created. Adam is then essentially evolved human nature. And this is important because there were flesh and blood people on earth thousands of years before we had a concept of Adam being a creation. But they weren't true humans because they had not awakened to their divine purpose. So Adam, the mindset, Adam, the spirit, Adam, the excellent natural entity is a achievement. That's what we want to be. So Allah tells us what happens when we are not in alignment with our human nature. We know about what happened to Adam in Surah 2, Ayah 35. O Adam, dwell you and your wife in the Garden of Eden and eat freely therefrom from where and of what you wish, but do not draw near this tree lest you become of the transgressors. But Satan caused them to slip about it and brought out of that they were in. So we said, go down, some of you enemies unto others, for you shall be a sojourn in the earth and enjoyment for a time. Thereafter Adam learned certain words from his Lord, and he turned to him in mercy. Indeed, he is the oft-turning and all merciful. We said, go down to the earth, all of you from this place. Then wherever comes to you a guidance from me, then those who follow my guidance will have nothing to fear, nor shall they grieve. As for those who disbelieved and denied our signs, they indeed shall be the inhabitants of the fire. They shall abide in it forever. Allah tells us our true nature is that of obedience to Him. That's our original nature. And when we go against our nature, then we succumb to the lower expressions of our basic human nature, then we fall from that characteristic of being Adam. So that concept is important because it dispels the fairy tale story of this concept of Adam and Eve, and it releases that social construct of being basically inherently evil. So remember, we talked about the human nature. Some philosophers believe that we are inherently evil, but that is not the nature of mankind, and that is not the nature of Adam. So as we think about this and we think about progressing, we think about all of the stories that Allah has told us in the Quran when we talked about disobedience. Prophet Shuaib and the who was this? Aika, is that correct? Surah 26, 177. Have you no fear? I am trustworthy messenger to you. So fear Allah and obey me. I ask of you no reward for this. My reward is with none but the Lord of the universe. Fill up the measure and do not diminish the goods of people. Weigh with an even balance and do not deliver short and do not go about creating mischief in the land. So this is ayats 177 through 191. With Prophet Shuaib. You are no more than one of those who have been bewitched. You are only immortal to us. That's what the people told him. Indeed, we believe that you are an utter liar. So cause the peace of the sky to fall upon us if you are truthful. Shuaib said, my Lord knows well all that you do. Then they branded him a liar, whereupon the chastisement of the day of the canopy overtook them. It was the chastisement of a very awesome day. Surely this is a sign in this, but most of them would not believe. Your Lord is immensely mighty, most compassionate. So what did these people do? They were diminishing the goods of the people. So I'm going to take from you, but I'm not going to give you your just due. They were delivering in short, so transactions were not properly done, and they were creating mischief in the land. Are these characteristics of today?
Yes.
And what happened to them? They were destroyed. The people of Thamud and Prophet Salih. Surah 7, ayahs 73 through 78. And to Thamud we sent their brother Salih. O my people, worship Allah. You have no other God but Him. Indeed, there has come to you a clear sign, the miracle of the coming out of a huge she-camel from the midst of a rock from your Lord. This she-camel of Allah is a sign unto you. So you leave her to graze in Allah's earth and touch her not with harm, lest a painful torment should seize you. So one thing that we saw that they were doing was associating gods with God, right? Sure. In 74, it talks about, remember He has made you successors. So they got the covenant of Allah. They were successors, gave you habitations in the land. You built for yourselves palaces. So they were being blessed with that ability, carving out homes in the mountains, great architectural work. So we hear about, remember the graces bestowed upon you from Allah, and don't go about making mischief in the earth. So they are making mischief in the earth. The leaders were arrogant, according to the surah and the ayats. And those in 76 says, those who were arrogant said, verily we disbelieve in which you believe in. That's pretty arrogant to say I disbelieve in what you believe in. So then they defied the commandment in 77. And then in 78, the ayah says, an earthquake seized them and left them dead, prostrate in those beautiful buildings that they built, that they were so proud of. And you could die right there in them. That's another one. And then, Salih, if you read the right translation of the Quran, you don't even have to watch a movie. You don't have to watch a comedy show. You don't have to be thrilled. You could just read the Quran. You could be terrified, thrilled. You can see comedy. It can all there. Because in 79, Salih turned to them and said, O my people, I have indeed conveyed to you the message of my Lord and have given you good advice, but you don't like good advisors. That seems like a line in the movie, right? I tried to tell you and give you good advice, but that's not what you wanted. This is what you got, though. So, and then you have Sodom and Gomorrah, Prophet Luke, Surah 7, Ayah 80 through 84. I won't read them all, but we'll just hit on what it says. We know that in 81, it talks about practicing your lust on men instead of women. Is that going on today? They were told to, they're going to drive you out the town. They want to be, and the men who were intelligent, they want to be pure from these sins they trying to get out. So then Allah saved the family except the wife. She was one who remained behind in the torment. I don't know where I was listening to this in the last couple of days, and they were talking about Prophet Luke's wife and why she was left behind. Because she wasn't the one who was, she wasn't a man, she wasn't sleeping with the men. I don't think they talk about her sleeping with women. But it wasn't the physical act. It was her thinking about it. And so if you have not taken a stand against something, and you have not become clear within yourself, you are still associating your emotions to something. Bringing it to a place where we're getting ready to do purity, you're going to be the bad apple in the group. You're going to bring that same mindset, that okayness into this environment. So you can't come. You got to stay. Since you love that, even if you're not doing it, you stay over there with them then. You can be destroyed with them as well. And that's what happened to her. And then we all know Prophet Musa, Moses, and the Pharaoh. The things that they were doing, Surah 7, ayahs 104 to 137. I'm just going to go through and identify. 127, it says that the Pharaoh said, we will kill their sons and let their women live, and we indeed have irresistible power over them. So they're killing people. They're doing genocide, separating families. And Allah is sending them all these signs. We know they were into sorcery. Do we have that going on?
Yes.
So Allah, and this was very interesting because I read this several times. I was like, if anybody got several signs to get right, these people got a lot of signs to get right. First, they got years of drought and shortness of fruits and crops that they could take heed. So y'all are going through drought and shortness of food. That would probably give me the act right. But no, when they finally got out of that state, they said that was because of me. As a Pharaoh, I did this. And anything that happened wrong is because of those people who kept trying to speak against me. So they ascribed anything that was evil or negative that happened to them to the evil omens that were connected with Musa. It had to be him. He brought that upon us. So then Allah said, okay, well, I'm going to send you something else. I'm going to send you flood, locusts, lice, frogs, and blood. That's what Ayah 133 says. I think that's enough right there to probably get me to act right. But not them. No, they rely strong in what they believe in. Because Musa says, hey, invoke your Lord for us because of his promise to you. You will remove the punishment. No. They're asking Musa to tell your God to remove this punishment from us that he has given to us. I think I read that wrong. Pharaoh is asking Moses to tell his God to remove the punishment. So they realize it's a punishment. And they realize it's from this God that they are rejecting. But no. So then they got drowned. And Allah says, we destroyed completely all the great works and buildings which the Pharaoh and his people erected. So I think that we have seen lots of things today that will tell us that it's the end, that we should probably redirect ourselves, but I think we're dealing with the mindset of the people right now. So when we talked about all of the ills that we identified, and we look at where we are in society right now, we're experiencing not one of these things, but probably almost everything that was named out of all the communities are being manifested right now. So if just one set of this would cause one reaction from Allah, what do you think all of these things together are going to cause? We have a thing that says eradicating crime. Got a lot of crime going on. So according to the human rights, one of their surveys, they did a Pew Research survey conducting June the 5th through the 11th, 2023. They surveyed 5,115 members of the Center's National Representative American Trends Panel. So they take representatives from all over the country, and they survey them as a sample of everybody in the country. They have some of every kind of person. And so they said that the top problems facing the nation were inflation, healthcare affordability, drug addiction, and gun violence. And if you were to get a printout of this and look at it, the top ones across all age groups would be inflation, healthcare, gun violence is next, and violent crime, in that order. If you look at the youngest people, 18 to 29, the top ones for them are inflation, healthcare, drug addiction, and gun violence. Unemployment is high for them, but that's lower than the other ones. Now, you know, they all stay together or stay in the house with you. That's not a concern. So the topic is seeking progress through love, and the month-long topic is light, opportunity, vision, and eradicating crime. And so the conversation that Juma Friday talked about getting out of slavery is not the final step of self-actualization. So you talked about being free was the solution to slavery, but it's not. Being free is simply being unchained. And so it is championing being untied to leadership. So if you have no leader, then you are essentially wild. Because you didn't say you were your own leader. You were saying you don't have no leader, right? I am just completely free. So you're in the wilderness and you have the ability to go and come at will. And a society that seeks to rise from slavery towards freedom without changing mindsets and developing individuals is doomed to only experience freedom from slavery, but has yet to experience the ultimate goal of mastery, which is what we're talking about when we talk about the human nature of Adam, the excellent human nature of Adam. We're getting there. So, Surah 30, verse 41, chaos has appeared on the land and sea because of what the hands of men has earned, that God may give them a taste of their deeds in order that they may turn back from evil. We are in a state of chaos. We are experiencing what our mankind has earned, but we have the opportunity to turn back. Will we be like the Pharaoh? So we have concerns, and our concerns are, how do we get from freedom and wilderness to mastery, to self-actualization, to the Adam level? So I also heard Friday DNA, and I typed in the thing, DNA is the dignified nature of Adam, and I was like, hey, that's right on time for the presentation. So one of the challenges for the human being, according to Imam Worthy Muhammad, is understanding our own nature. Understanding how our nature allows us to manage our life and our affairs. And Al-Islam places a demand on all human beings, the obligation to strive for excellence, as dictated by our fitra-based human nature. Allah, our Creator, dictates alignment with human nature and excellence in Surah 3, Ayah 104. Let there be from you a community inviting to goodness and prosperity, commanding universally recognized human excellence, preventing influences that void human nature. They will be the successful. There was a lot in there. So we have an obligation. We have an obligation to our individual selves and to our communities. We have the obligation to invite to goodness, commanding to command universally recognized human excellence. Not just the human excellence that you want for yourself, universal for all people, for all situations. And we are commanded to prevent the influences that void our human nature. And when we do all of those things, we can be successful, okay? So when we talk about the universally recognized human nature, that's the ma'ruf, that's what is good and permissible. Allah is telling us that we have to act in the best of standards and traditions for things that are known and tested. And that's why it's important to understand history and understand our own development, what works and what doesn't. The munkar is what is strange to human nature. That is what is the opposite of the universally recognized human excellence. So the opposite of that. So we have to forbid it, resist it, and push it back. It's what's harmful for us. It's what's harmful to our religion, our practice. It's those things that are against our human nature, that are against our fitra. It's anything that is unjust, that is unfair, that is corrupt. This has implications for us as an individual, but also as a collective, because we're talking about a big task. If it's something that makes our religion void, then we have to avoid it, stay away from it, resist it, and also remove it from the path of others. So we have an obligation not just for us not to be involved, but to remove it. That's a big task to say, you don't do this, and then I'm going to make sure that the other people can't do it. That's a bigger task. That's a responsibility. So, Islam leads you to address the best of your nature and to grow your abstract nature, your spirit, that human nature, asks you to increase your mental capacity so that you can use your intellect to create, to imagine, to do those things. You must be social so that you can collectively protect, and then take all of those things, building your spiritual nature. And Allah gives us that excellent example in who? Prophet Muhammad. Alhamdulillah. In Prophet Muhammad. Allah gives us these directives to align ourselves and to achieve the highest form of our human excellence. So Surah 30, Ayah 30 says, establish your purpose and direction for religion rightly inclined. Allah's natural pattern of fitra, which he originated man on. There should be no altering Allah's creation. That is the ever true faith, and most men do not know. Okay, so the solution to what we're talking about. When we look at our original nature and we look at our communities right now, we know that we're under attack. We know that our communities have become self-destructive. We're self-destructing. There's, that's when you can do the rap. We headed for self-destruction. So from a scientific view, when you think about your bodies, you're sitting here right now, we're always in a constant fight to battle outside forces. While you're sitting here right now, your body is fighting off bacteria, viruses, particles in the air. It's happening right while we're sitting here. Your white blood cells and your antibodies are going to those areas where these things have come in, and it's trying to destroy them. There's a war going on in your body right now, right? 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If you're alive, the battle is happening. So when you're not exhibiting any sickness, that means that you're winning the battle. Your body is winning. But the minute that you begin to feel that you're not 100%, that is an indication that your body is losing the battle. So whatever's in there, whatever's going on, has gotten the best of you, okay? And your body is trying to fight that off. Doesn't mean that you have succumbed to it. It just means that at this time, you start to get a little warmer. You might have a fever. They're looking for fever because heat is a product of reaction. So there's something going on in your body. Your body is trying to fight. And so when they say, hey, you have the flu, what they're really saying is that influenza virus, one, not that it's in your body, because it's in your body probably right now. So, but your body is winning the battle. So being exposed to something does not mean that you succumb to it. It's around you all the time. Sometimes it's in you. But you have to be able to fight it off so that you become the winner of the battle. And your body, there are signs in creation. That is a sign for us. When you study creation, you study how Allah has designed us. You can read the signs, like when you said, what is the beginning of this? Read what Allah has revealed. Read the signs in creation. That is something that Allah has given us the intellect to do. And there is a message in just your physical body. When you are ill, you are in a state of disease, dis-ease. Okay? And so what do you do when you're in a state of dis-ease and disease and you have succumbed to something that has become more powerful than what you can fight off? And you have these symptoms and you feel like you just cannot go on. What do? You go to a doctor. Because you go to a place because you would like to have care. Care. And there's a doctor there or a nurse or somebody that has some type of prescription. They're going to prescribe something to you. And they're going to nurse you back to health, to a state of ease. Okay? Our communities and our society is in a state of dis-ease. And it needs wraparound care. Wraparound care. So if you work in the health field or education, when they say wraparound, that means everything coming in. All of our resources are about to go to get you to act right or to get your body right. Whatever needs to happen, we're about to put it out, wrap all around you. We need that in society right now. The Quran is our prescription. And our communities are our hospitals. And our membership are our caregivers. And the exemplar manual, so what it's supposed to look like, is in our prophet, may Allah, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him. So we have a charge, and our charge is that Allah has directed us and our leaders by command in the Quran to resist and remove that is evil and wrong. And we are to do by what is ma'ruf, by what is known and tested, by reviewing our history, reviewing the Quran, knowing what has worked and what does not work. We know the best of behaviors and we know what has been rewarded. We know the worst of behaviors and we know what has been punished. And we know the actions and their results because they have been tested over time. It's our responsibility to select the best of this world and provide its guidance to the communities. Imam Warthi Muhammad said, those who lead should be aware of the history of society, the history of the developmental world of man, and they should know the things that have lived while innovations have died and passed away, while guesswork has died and failed man. We shouldn't just be out here doing whatever, right? We have an intellect. We have the ability to study and think and look at what works and what doesn't. So we're looking at the best of traditions. We're looking at the best of examples. And we see that Prophet Muhammad is the example that Allah has provided for us to be the best example of Al-Islam in life and all the tribes before him. So as we understand human development, human history, cultural history, Islamic history, all of these things complement the understanding of our community, development and the dynamics of a community and the community history and our membership in history. So now we're not talking about just putting that out, you know. I remember my niece and my nephew were much younger at the time. They're teenagers now, but they were very little. And they were playing doctor, and I was the patient. They had me laying down, and they were telling me I was sick. And this is a true story. And I said, oh, I'm just so sick. I don't know what to do. And Layla was the nurse, and she was saying, well, I'm trying, doctor. I'm trying. I can't get her back. And Adam was the doctor, and he said, okay, I got you. True story. He picked up a Quran and hit me in the head. this is for real. And bring him back to life. It hit me in the head. It took me by surprise, obviously. But I couldn't do anything but laugh because I said, well, he figured it was nothing to do. He gonna answer right.
Everybody's gonna hit you.
That's the wraparound care right there. So when we understand all of those things, all these together, we're not talking about just, quoting the Quran when we're talking about progressing. We're talking about, this takes some work. It takes, when Imam Worthy Muhammad talked about the 4 birds, and he talked about, in the Quran says, everyone has a direction to which it is turned. Everybody has a component to add to this. When we're saying human development, we have to understand the development as children grow from children to adulthood, and even the stages of adulthood, where we are and what we need. We have to understand what has happened in history, our history, the history of the places that we live, Islamic history. All those things come into the components of the dynamics that affect our community, the state of the community, and then how we're going to interact with the greater community. We're talking about eradicating crime. We might have to eradicate some stuff inside of us first. So, the Quran talks about, it offers expressions of how communities nurture our own individuals. So seeking progress through love and looking at the community as the womb of recovery, okay? And I'm going to identify some things, and then you have some cards, and I'm going to tell you what to do with it in just a minute. When we talk about community life and what we're going to do to solve the ills of greater community, then we look inside of the Quran and identify what can the community offer as the womb of recovery. It can offer love. So as community members, we can share our common love in our faith. When we share our love for Allah and the Prophet and our way of life, we listen to when the Prophet said, you cannot be a Muslim until you love for your brother what you love for yourself. Think about truly taking that in and allowing that to radiate when you interact with people. These are not just words. It's how do you really engage with other people. It is this love for our faith and our brothers and sisters that motivates us to express such a thing. The community can offer mercy and love. So as a leader and as membership, leading with mercy and love is understanding the backgrounds and needs and intentions of community members. Allow the leadership to work with the membership in their current state of development to push them towards the realized state. The community can be giving and generous. And we're talking about within our community and society. So we already know we pay zakat and we do sadaqah as part of our Muslim life. This being a regular part of our practice builds the understanding that the dunya is not to be coveted, but rather used to serve the betterment of ourselves, the community, and the society. It builds generosity. It builds strength and bonds of the community as a resource to those that are members. The community can be nurturing within the family and within the community, and then going broader The mother is the nurturer of the family. She nurtures the children. She nurtures and comforts her husband. But since the woman in the community are also mates, the community is the womb for nurturing the membership. The nurturing of ourselves inside of our communities creates strong families, strong relationships between families, strong resources, and then outreach opportunities to go out into the greater society. Humility within the family and the community. Being humble when we're leading, when we're addressing people in right and wrong, and making that be the way of action. Humility. Forgiving. Family and community, being forgiven within our families and in our community. Forgiveness is something that we ask a lot for ourselves and our families, but also for our community members and our greater community. We have to forgive ourselves, but we also have to forgive others for past hurts. We can't solve outside ills if we can't address the inside ills. Being forgiving massages the wounds of the past and builds connections between mates, community members. It addresses lingering senses of hurt that can sometimes cause separations within families or members in the community, and it can then mend those relationships. So this is how our community, our smaller community, and then greater communities can become the wombs of nurturing for our society. But I am going to share with you another statement for love, seeking progress through love. So instead of saying, let me go back to what it was originally. It's a long, light, opportunity, vision, and eradicating crime, because that's a big thing right there. I am going to say love, linking ourselves to the values exemplified in Prophet Muhammad. Seeking progress through love, through linking ourselves to the values exemplified in the Prophet Muhammad. On your cards, you have values exemplified by Prophet Muhammad. As mentioned in the Quran, Prophet Muhammad has given us an excellent example. Not only just for ourselves or individually as Muslims, but also how we should interact with others and how we should lead the greater community. So, if you would take a moment and look at your particular value, I would like for you to think about how that can impact our community when we talk about progressing. So, I'm going to read them all, and then I invite you to share a characteristic of the prophet that you have and how that can impact our community. So I have loving, which is wada or haba. Mercy and love, rahima. Giving and being generous, rahama. Affectionate social connections, polite and kind, Anissa. Connected, alafa. Trusting and faithful, Amina. Humble, Hasha. Sensitive, moral, and emotional sensitivities, Bashara. Forgiving, Ghafara. Reflective, analytical, and thinking, Bakara. Reflective and remembering, Dakhara. Reverent or conscious, Taqwa or Wakaya. Patient and persistent or consistent, Sabara. Grateful or thankful, Shakara. Restraining, Sama. Protecting or guarding, Hafata. Creative, Kalaka. Learning, Alama. Aspiring, growing, or evolving, Qama. Productive, Falaha. Nurturing, Raba. Mastering, commanding, Amara. Truthful or charitable, Sadaka. peaceful or submissive, salama, obedient, kanata, purposeful, wajaha. So, wajaha. So, would anyone like to share? These are all characteristics of the prophet. And the idea is when we're talking about progressing as a community and addressing the ills, you know, oftentimes we hear the conversation is, you know, charity starts at home when you begin to build yourself and you become an example to those around you and you begin to interact with these characteristics. Not only do you change yourself and you change your community, you begin to do outward change as well. Yes, ma'am.
I have productive, aspiring, growing, and evolving, and it makes me think about programming that we need for our youth, because all these things can come out of some positive programming that we do for them, and I think that should be our main focus, is them right now.
Yes, ma'am.
I saw something.
Well, like myself.
It's amazing that you gave me this one. Oh, I'm so sorry. I shouldn't say amazing. I am so grateful that you gave me this one. It is patient, persistent, and consistent. I named my son Sabr. And this is Sabra, okay? And he is now 42 years old. I named him Sabr because I lacked patience. And Allah blessed me to see that attribute was lacking in my life. But it is something, you know, that I have tried to nurture and develop over these last 42 years. And Allah has blessed me to see that I have become more patient, persistent, and consistent, because I saw a need for our children here at this masjid. And I didn't see anyone else stepping up to the plate. So I said, okay, Rosie, you already got a lot on your plate, but you're going to have to do this one. Take some other stuff off that is really not, someone else can be doing that. And you have to devote yourself and your time to this. So I started working with the children with the Arabic and Al-Islam and studies class. I recognized that I had to be consistent. I had to show them, I'm here for you. So every time I allowed them to set the pace. You tell me what days you want, which Sunday you want to be here. One said every Sunday. Another said, oh, no. We can't do every Sunday now. We got too much going on. But they set the time, and I said, well, we know we have Pantra on the fourth Saturday. So we're going to be tired on that fourth Sunday, right? They said, yes, ma'am. We're not going to do it on the fourth Sunday. So then one said, well, let's do it on the first and the third Sunday. And then everybody said, is anyone in agreement with that, opposition? So they set that tone. But when we listen to our young people, we get real results. If you let them know that this is their class, no adults in their class, unless they invite the adults. One of their parents came in and he said, I want to sit in the class. And I turned to the class and asked him, I said, is it okay for this parent to sit in your class? He wants to sit. And they said, not today.
He just sat there with the corner.
They said, not today. We're just getting, acclimated ourselves. We don't want anyone sitting in right now. And I said, parent, can you respect their request? And he said, okay, but I'm going to be wanting to come back. But I mean, long story short, patient, persistent, and consistent. When you're doing something with children, you have to be patient with them. You have to be persistent, because for many weeks, they weren't coming. So I said, okay, and I asked them, what is it that I can do, or what can we do together in order to make certain that you are here on the days that you say you're going to be here? Because I want your word to be consistent with what you say. I want you to be able to do it as well. So they started brainstorming in the class. Well, I can make sure, you know, Sister Rose, can you text all of us? And I said, I'm going to do better than that. I'm going to give you my phone number, my home and my cell. So you can also do the same for me. Because the way you need help, so do I. But anyway, it was good. So alhamdulillah, we're still existing.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm going to piggyback off of Sister Lydia and Sister Rosie. The two that I have are obedient and purposeful. And so when Sister Lydia mentioned about putting programs in place for our children, that linked back to Sister Rosie in the Arabic class, because originally Kamani, my son, had not been coming. But I noticed that since that has been implemented, there has been a change in his nature, you know. And so, and I agree with all of these, what needs to happen in our communities. And so it's going to be very important that we continue to be purposeful when we're doing things for our children, and making sure that they understand that if we are the example for them and we're obedient, that they need to be obedient as well. And so to tell them, it's like do as I say, not as I do. But it's also modeling by example. And so you want to make sure that you're obedient as a person, and myself, in doing what I need to be doing in order to have them understand the expectations of meeting that expectation of being obedient when it comes to doing something positive and impactful in their lives.
Sure, absolutely.
Assalamu alaikum. It appears as though all of this is related. Because now I'm going to say I have charitable and peaceful. And two aspects, you know, improving our community with the first acronym of love, where it had eradicating crime, okay, being charitable, you know, plays a real big role, I think, in that, you know, being open, being giving, you know, to those who don't have, has an impact. You know, it might be that one thing that you did would stop someone from doing something wrong, okay? And this, I'm not trying to brag on this or anything, but we were speaking of Ramadan one year, of some of the things that we do, and during Ramadan, I make it a habit of keeping some dollar bills in my car, okay? Not just out, but I have them available. So when I see the people that are standing on the corner, you know, they need, I have $1 that I can just give to them. Without any question, I just give it. That person that I gave the $1 to, they might have, you know, gone down the street and tried to take the $1 from somebody. But I've already given them $1, okay? Then the other side of charitable and our children, or our grandchildren, they want to be charitable. They want to give. And so you have to create opportunities for them to do that. We are witnessing it right here in our pantry. We get our grandchildren, our children, neighbors. We even have a brother that has collected young men, young teenage boys that he will bring here, they are in need themselves. They are in need themselves. But they come here to be charitable to somebody else. They're looking for, our young people are looking for ways to be charitable, to give. And so we do have to create those opportunities for them. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum. I have Wada Habba Letting.
Mike,
Mike's not on?
it's on, just pull it a little closer.
I did? Okay. All right. I'm sorry. Loving. And that word jumped out at me as a Muslim because like now I've been a Muslim for 49 years? 49 years now. And I've always noticed that that word love was never really expressed, you know, in our community. I don't know about here. You guys may have expressed it quite a bit, but where I was, it was never really expressed. But here lately, I have been hearing khutbahs talking about love. And I'm like, oh, alhamdulillah. Because it's like Muslims were afraid to express love. You know, and Allah is all about love, you know, loving. And I think back on especially us as African Americans, what we've been through, that love element was kind of squashed in us because there was so much hatred thrown towards us. So it's kind of like we were afraid to, you know, love, to show love. Like, I don't know, raising children, you know, a lot of the parents would be harsh. And that was their way of expressing love, but it wasn't coming off as love. So, and then they didn't really, you know, a lot of us, they remember back, parents may not have said, I love you. You may not have told your sisters and brothers, I love you, you know, because it wasn't expressed to us, you know. So I think that's very important to tell people I love you, you know, and we hear it thrown around quite a bit in this society of those songs, I love you, baby, you know, but then you see the opposite. They tell you they love you and other things are happening, so you're not really getting the understanding of what true love is, you know. And a question that was posed earlier about the young people in our community, how to kind of bring them in, and that's one of the ways, show them love, you know. Show them the loving element of Al-Islam. We as Muslims, we love you, and we want to see the best for you, and being aware and believing in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and being aware of your Muslim aunties and uncles who have knowledge and wisdom to share with you in a loving way. You know, that's all I got to say.
Salam. The word that I have is trusting and faithfulness. My dad, we were having a conversation the other day about this, trusting in Allah. I feel like, well, it wasn't exactly about trusting, but it was about just doing better than you did the day before. Just because, you know, you did something bad the day before doesn't mean that you can't change. And you should trust in Allah's bountiness and His mercy. And when you have trust and persistence, that is what makes faithfulness. And I feel like faithfulness helps when you're going through a hard time, when you're sucked into sin, into a lifestyle of sin, into you should trust Allah and trust in His patientness with you, and that's not even a real word. Patience. Today I'm sorry.
It's been recorded. It is not a word.
But yeah, this was big. Even down my timeline on Instagram, I see a lot of posts about Ramadan and people preaching about trusting in Allah and being faithful throughout this journey. It's going to be a battle of ups and downs. We're going to sin. It's inevitable. We're here on earth. So, with that being said, we could always do better than yesterday. That's it.
Assalamualaikum. So, the original E was eradicating crime. And when I hear that, it comes back to what you were saying. It could be for, what did you use?
Exemplified.
Exemplified Prophet Muhammad. So we can eradicate crime. And crime is the crime against humanity. The crime that won't allow you to be human. That's the biggest thing we need to eradicate. How can we do that? By emulating those things from Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. And so I have reflective, analytical thinking, fakra, and forgiving, ghafara, right? So with our community, we need to have a plan and a goal, and we need to have a process to meet it. And we have to include all of the people and the youth to meet that goal, to identify what that goal would be. And we have to think about, is that really a goal that we need to have? Is that a goal that we want? Is that going to satisfy the needs of our community? And we have to forgive ourselves for our shortcomings. If we didn't do it before, start now. That's right.
Assalamu alaikum. I was given the attribute of rahama. Am I saying it correctly? Giving and generosity. Okay, it's going to pick it back all back around. My sisters talked about our children. Okay, for those that know in this community, I am a grandmother. Okay, and I had to learn, and I thank Allah for the mercy that, you know, I was like, I reared mine. How did I get here? I am a grandmother rearing young children again. And my mindset was giving. How am I going to be able to give to these children? And Allah has opened my mind to let me know through my faith, through community life, giving does not always have to be monetary. I need you to give these children the example in which I've given to you through Prophet Muhammad Wasallam. Because that's my faith, that's why I trust, that's why my guidance comes from. So the giving and generosity of just knowledge, allowing this child to know that you are loved by giving them the mindset of what was given to me. Just letting them know, you know what, there's the love, there's the community. I don't always have to have the monetary giving, just giving them what was given to me through Allah's mercy.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Oh, she's not there. She's not there. We got one right here. We got somebody right here.
Oh, you can say your name, but you can go.
Assalamu alaikum. I have sensitive, morals, and emotional sensitivity. Baha. Morals and emotional is one of the attributes I try to express to my grandchildren. You are 14, you are 15. Do not take certain things from other children that offer you gummies or whatever, this new thing out here. Your family love you. Plus, every day I send them an inspiration. This is what Allah says. Then when they get out the car, I have to tell them, we love you. And I'm also trying to teach them to be charitable. Pay some money in zakat and bring your G-Mama receipt.
Alhamdulillah. Oh, well.
All right, assalamu alaikum. So I have grateful and thankful, and then I have restraining. Inshallah, right? The test is to say things that you see in our community, right? Or that you want to see. Or either way.
How can exhibiting that trait within our community impact our progress?
Okay, alhamdulillah. So, I'll take restraining first, right? Everybody's like, yep. Y'all don't even have to say anything. You just say restrain. Everybody's like, yep. Like if I could just restrain myself. And everybody didn't think about nobody else, did they? Everybody thought about themselves. And as soon as we said that, everybody was like, yeah, you sure right. So, I'm just not gonna say nothing right now. And I think with restraint there is patience, right? That they kind of, they go together. That if we can get to a point that we restrain ourselves, and not just restrain ourselves from saying, but restrain our own selves from doing things or acting upon things that are solely benefiting us, right? So there are things, getting 2 cinnamon rolls. Restrain yourself. Just get 1 cinnamon roll. Don't get cinnamon rolls, right? Get some carrots, right? So I think that would be beneficial. And I think it would lead to bigger things for restraint, right? So we talk about eradicating crime. If we can restrain ourselves and we can help somebody learn how to restrain themselves from crime. Then we have grateful and thankful. I want to say, so people have been saying what they see, and I'm going to say, you all know, I give Memphis props. I love Memphis, right? I love the women. I love the sisters in Memphis, and I know you all have your own your own things and back and forth. I'm not oblivious now. But I think that's a part of it. I'm saying I think a part of the beauty is that everybody keeps coming back, right? And so as much as we talk about what we want to see, I think we should also talk about what we do see, right? And what I see, whether it's the grandmother who's taking on the grandchildren, and I'm going to tell you now, Allah is good in what He does for us. So sometimes we didn't get it right. Right? And he'll send you all day. You'll be like, what are you doing here? You'll be like, no. But it's like another chance, right? It's another chance, and you're forever grateful, right? So what I see is a lot of gratitude, right, in Memphis, right? Grateful for people who are continuing to be here. I think we should show even more gratitude. That we should give even more, that we should not think that whatever we are giving is sufficient, right? It is sufficient in effort, but if we can think about Allah, it is never sufficient for everything that He's given us, right? So you're always like this big search of like, man, I'm grateful, but I need to show Allah that I'm even more grateful. So I encourage us, and I applaud you all to be grateful for everybody that keeps coming, even though you kind of give them a side eye sometimes, and they still came back. Oh wait, then I got to tell a story about my niece when you saw her giving charity. So it works, right? Teaching the children. Our little niece, the one I told you guys at the Fajr session, who I said, wow, let's get it together, right? You're 7, and now they decided to correct the child. But once again, the nature is good. So it was a person came to the masjid, a new sister. She actually hasn't even accepted that Islam. She was there with someone else. Didn't really know anything, not even necessarily standing in line, just everything. My niece takes her by the hand. She's the one who greeted her when she came in, because she was outside in the room where she was supposed to be. But She greeted her when she came in. Assalamu alaikum. And then, the young lady was talking to her again. She said, yeah, you take your brothers go over there. So you come over here, and you take your shoes off, and then you come on in, and you sit down. And and through the whole thing, she's talking to her. And then it was time to pray, and it said, you come here, and you're supposed to say this, and you do this, and you do all these. She's literally, I'm saying the whole time. After we finish praying, she starts talking to her. She's telling her. She goes up and shows her the new masjid building. This is what we're building here, and so-and-so, so-and-so. This is where we pay zakat at here. Do you have some money to pay zakat? She said, no, I don't have no money. But she said, hold on. She left, went and got $1 from somebody. We don't know where she got $1 from, probably a pawpaw. She came back with $1. She said, I got some money for you to pay zakat. She walked her in there, paid her zakat. She said, now they give you a receipt. This is to show you she paid your zakat. She got her receipt, and then she walked around and was showing her other stuff, and she was, you coming back? And mashallah, my mom, she was watching all of it. She said, I couldn't say anything, but that's how we're supposed to be. Right. Right? The adults. Right. But many of us would have too much shame or this or, oh, no, I'm busy or this. But that's us. Right. So we're doing some things right. Even though it doesn't look like it. And so we're grateful.
I have reverent, conscious, and reflective. Piggybacking on the erratic crime, I'm young myself, so.
Really?
I'm only 25. Okay. As the young people, it's a lot that is going on, and so it's very hard for us to try to be respectful to others, and wow, there's so many people around that's disrespecting us. So I think we need to sit back and just reflect to not allow what's going on around us to change who we are as a person, and still to give out love and respect, because there's still people out here like ourselves that, still love and still respect other people.
Very good. Yes. I'm gonna, oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, hurt people, so it's better to be compassionate with them and genuinely pray for them in a way, and give them hope.
Allah.
One other thing I want to say. So what she said, like hurt people, and my thing is always, when are we going to break the cycle?
Yes.
When are we going to break the cycle? Because until we break the cycle, it's going to continue.
And that's part of the conversation, is looking at these characteristics of the prophet to see how we can exemplify those within each other, and then within ourselves, and then being able to exhibit those to each other, and then talking about moving outside. Because a lot of, when we observe these things, the young lady said, sometimes growing up in an environment where, when you said people don't always talk about being loving or sharing I love you, imagine growing up in a community where people are arguing with each other all the time. You never hear people say they love each other. They're not saying it to you. You're being raised in that environment. So what do you become? You become a hard person yourself as a child, and then we're talking about solving crime outside of the doors. We haven't addressed what's going on inside the doors. So oftentimes when we talk about solving the ills of society, we have to start within first. And so if we're looking at exhibiting those characteristics of the prophet, you're exhibiting it to yourself first. And then you are doing the outward, I'm going to become this myself, but I'm also going to exhibit this with my family. And then I'm going to exhibit it in the community. And then once the community is exhibiting this, then we can talk about reaching out in the greater society. But we cannot reach out in greater society if we're not together ourselves. And so that's for me, when I saw that original title that said Eradicating Crime, that's a very strong and lofty goal. Very good goal. Are we exhibiting the things that we need within ourselves? Are we operating in that human nature of Adam? So that we can then shine those great things outwardly. We talk about connecting with like-minded people to do great works in the greater society. But before you connect with like-minded people, what is like-minded? What is your mind? And when you say you're going to connect with somebody that is, because you're going to attract what you are.
You said you might already be connected.
You might already be connected. That might be the problem. We're connected. Our minds are not right. So we are connected with like-minded people, and this is the result of our manifestation. So how do we battle that? I'm proposing that we start looking within and aligning ourselves, linking, if it needs to be lifting, whatever the L needs to be, linking or lifting ourselves to the values exemplified in the prophet. Looking at those characteristics that the prophet exhibited, and then, like you said, love. Do we exhibit love with one another? Are we compassionate with one another? Are we kind with one another? If I give you something like our speaker that came this past weekend, and with the children, we were making those bags, she said, if somebody give you something like this, do you want it? No. She said, I'll starve first. We were making care packages. She said, I'll starve first before I take some food from somebody that throws it at me like that. How do we interact with one another? Do we push on each other? Are we hugging each other? Are we snapping at each other? Or are we being kind? If you say something out the way to me, what is my reaction? Because all people have the right to react. It's natural. What is my reaction? Is my reaction harsh, or do I not say anything? Do I come back? Maybe you have people going to the corner, suffering in silence, when their reaction could have been maybe 2 years ago to smack you. So what's happening?
That was progress.
That is progress. That's progress. But the concept here is working on ourselves individually, because we're talking about changing what's out there. Have we done the work to change what's in here? And that's an everyday task. That's not a, next year, next month, something. I see a youth wants to say something.
Assalamu alaikum. My word is humble.
Okay.
I say humble is being nice to people, no matter their living situation or yours. Just being a loving person, but it could be hard due to how you're brought up or what you're brought around.
Yeah, we can have people that don't know what humility is, or and it is something to work on. And I thought, did you have your hand up, Amber? Yeah. I want to call Amber after.
Sorry to interrupt, but
no, you're participating.
Yes, ma'am. Earlier you said who said that? When will the cycle end? So about that, like, it goes along with patience and resilience and trusting and knowing that people are watching you, they're seeing you, you're being an influence upon whoever is witnessing you. So with that being said, it might not happen tomorrow or next week or even next month, but surely a year from now you would see a difference. And I feel like nothing happens just in a snap of a finger. Everything in this life happens gradually, realistically speaking. That's it. It's a gradual process.
It is.
So just trust in God.
From stage to stage.
Assalamu alaikum. I have truthful and charitable. Okay, I'm going to talk about the truthful. It's very important to be truthful to others as well as yourself. I don't know. Right. That's all. I don't know what else I should say.
Say what you wanted to say. I think that's awesome. And I'm really impressed that we have some younger people participating, and I think that is a sign of us going in a direction to we've made ourselves open to that, and and so we want to continue that growth. Yes, ma'am.
She still had charitable. Don't worry, I wasn't gonna let you get away. I was keeping my eye on you.
It's also important to be charitable.
Well, there it is. Yeah, you got it. There it is.
I just wanted to address the younger people and ask them a question, okay? Do you all feel when you come here, do you feel from the first time you came until right now, do you feel more loved? Or do you feel more inclusive now or less?
I feel more inclusive now, especially since this is like an open circle where we all discuss our feelings and what we feel about different topics and discussions without any judgment or any criticism. I think we're used to a lot of criticism within our homes, and so it takes away our voice and our ability to articulate what we feel and think.
All right, Badger Session, did she just say it? Did she just say it? That's good stuff.
Okay, well, when people start coming up to the front and tiptoeing around, that lets you know that it's the wrap-up time. We're gonna take one more thing and then we're gonna wrap it on up.
I'm bringing it up because mine is Rahma, and we didn't talk about mercy, mercy and love. And so the Prophet, peace be upon him, he loved his community and he loved Islam. Nobody else is standing alone. Where is the
That's good.
I'm good. So the Prophet, peace be upon him, loved his community and he loved Islam. And he had mercy when all the wrong that was done to him, he still had patience and love and mercy, because even when Allah sent the angel to ask him, would he, that town Taif that wanted to, that ran him out, and he said, we can destroy them. And he said, no, because there may be one person that would turn to this thing. So he showed patience and he showed love. And then Allah himself, when you spoke about all those tribes before, and all the wrong so clearly, but Allah loves us and he shows mercy and he hasn't destroyed us. So who are we? We have to continue to remind ourselves to be merciful and to show love. And with our youth, we have to humble ourselves with our youth, because that's the mercy and that's the best. That's one of the attributes that we need to hold on to and really live that.
That's right. Mercy might be one of the most important ones. Oh, the young lady who Sister Rashida wants to share her story. You have to come to the mic.
Assalamu alaikum. Okay, so the word that I got is mastering, commanding, and nurturing. The first thing I think about mastering and commanding, first of all, is to Allah. In order for us to master the Quran, we have to learn the vocabulary, starting out with the words, the letters. And then after we start reading the Quran, we have to read it correctly. And that's with the command of Allah. So Allah commands us to master the Quran in order to understand His creation, in order to be obedient to Him, and in order for us to be able to, how you say, be ready for the hereafter, doing good deeds, living a good life, getting the blessings, and then following his laws, Allah's laws. And it also reminded me of a little baby growing up. First of all, it crawls, and then it mastered to walk. It continued to master to walk and want to walk until it walked. And then also riding a bike. A child, first of all, would start off with training wheels. And then after they master riding the bike with the training wheels, now it's time to take it off.
Right.
And then in the meantime, they fall. They're going to keep falling until they get up. And they have to have, how you say that, confidence, building, and that determination to want to learn how to ride the bike. So that's what came to my mind with that. Another one is nurturing. Of course, mothers are nurturers in general. And I looked it up. It said the meaning of rabba, also for nurturing, or tarbiya in Arabic language, is keeping or nurturing something until it grows perfectly. So, of course, when we, as mothers, we want our children to grow up, to prosper, to be good to society, and to help others. That's the main thing, and to be good to Allah. That's the main thing. And then also too is learning, continue to learn and continue to grow until we blossom to be a beautiful woman. And then of course raising a boy to be a handsome son, and everything. So that's the only thing I can kind of like think of for now.
Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum.
And it's so great to end on the word master, as we're talking about mastery. We kind of started with the conversation about the antithesis of being freed from being a slave was not looking at freedom. It was to achieve mastery. And so achieving mastery we could do through looking at our natural human soul, the soul of the atom, the human nature of Adam. And we took our acronym LOVE to say linking or lifting, whichever one best speaks to your soul, linking ourselves to the values exemplified by Prophet Muhammad. May Allah, may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon him. So I really thank you all for your attention. And I always, the teacher in me never wants to be the only speaker. So we always try to have activities where everyone is involved. And alhamdulillah, everybody was involved. And it was great. It was magnificent.